Hello and welcome back. Today I have decided I'm going to be working on this piece of furniture. As you remember, the top was broke off and we need to put that back together. So it will be hopefully one nice piece again. I already took and sanded off all of the shiny finish on here because I'm going to be painting this piece. So first I'm starting with the drawers for it, and I had to make 3 of those, and so I've cut out the tops, or the fronts, and I've cut out some pieces for the sides and the back of the drawer and the bottom of the drawer. So right now when I cut this out, it was supposed to be a door, but as you'll see, there was a problem with that. So this is the first drawer, and this wood I ordered off Amazon, and it's not real good wood, and so when I cut it, you can't see it here I don't think, but it just kind of splintered off and little, almost looked like fibers. It was just so fine what splintered off, but I really needed to sand when I was done. I don't care for this wood. And it's very hard to sand those off. I mean, it wants to stick together, but yet it wants to have these little fibers. So just checking my fit is pretty good. They're a little, I should have made them just a little wider, but it is what it is. So I'm going to start by making one with you, and I'm using Gorilla Wood Glue. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like it because it grabs quickly. So I'm just getting my pieces together, and the bottoms are just, they're a little longer on one side than the other, but they're almost square. And I was using my razor saw to cut, and probably doesn't help that my razor saw is old and dull, and then I was just using my Dollar Tree sanding block to do my sanding with. So I've got a toothpick, and here you'll see I'm fitting the sides to make sure that I get the right side, because as I said, they're not exactly square. If you hear any crunching, my kitty is just having some breakfast. So I just want to get a good coat on here, not too thick, not too thin, and then I'm placing it on the drawer bottom, and I'm just kind of holding it, and as you can see, it sticks pretty good right away. So I'm going to put the other side on this one now. Again, holding it just a little to get it to kind of stick. And then this is the back of the drawer. And as usual, my cuts were a little off, so I have a little bit of sanding to do at the end. And you all know I'm kind of impatient, so I probably should let the sides dry a little better before I put this back piece on. But, you know, it's me, and I'm like, oh, no problem. As I said, I should have cut these just a little smaller. I was having so much trouble with this wood, I was just like, let's just cut them. I can sand afterwards. So I'm just trying to get everything all nice and lined up now. I've made it so the back of the drawer fits in between the sides. So you'll see me fidgeting with this one, and I tell you, I just really wanted to get this video done because I needed something, and Oh, work is crazy. I'm working 4 days in a row this week, and it's really kicking my butt. I can tell you that. I've got today and tomorrow to go, and then I have the weekend off. And I was hoping to not have to run around all over, but my kitties are running out of food, and I've got some other things to do, and so it's not going to be a peaceful, stay-at-home, quiet weekend. Yeah, see the back has come out, and I will in a minute eventually realize that I did not put quite enough glue on that back piece. So, yeah, see, so I've just realized I didn't have quite enough glue on the back and the sides. So I'm just adding a little more to it. And with the extra glue on it now, I'm putting it back in place, and this time it's working out really well. So in just a minute here I'll have it done and move on to the other two. Just making sure everything is lined up, because sometimes I'm not. I'm putting that aside, and I am now assembling. I've got the other one assembled. I've got the others assembled. I'm sorry, I was having a lot of trouble with my video editor. Microsoft had an update, and it's set to automatically update stuff, but it didn't, and that was causing a lot of trouble with the video editor. So now I'm just placing a front on this one and just gluing that on, just to see how it's gonna look when they're all done. And I'm pretty pleased with the way they came out. I did take and bevel the edges on the front of the drawers, and then I'm just going to be sticking this in there, just checking, making sure that it's going to line up when I get it all done. And it looks pretty good, so I'm just going to proceed with doing this. And you'll notice my recording kind of cut out. I don't know what was going on with editing this video, but I had some real struggles on it, so yeah, I don't know. So I've got the other two drawer pieces done, and I'm just going to be sanding on them a little bit, just kind of even out my cuts. I was just a little off in a couple spots. One of the corners on this one was just a hair too big, so I'm just sanding that down. Just making sure that all of my sides and edges and everything are nice and smooth, because, as I said, this wood is not the best. So I'm just doing it with the other one, getting that all taken care of. And now it's time to glue the drawer fronts on. I don't know what Microsoft not updating had to do with the video editor, but yeah, it really messed things up. So now I'm just taking the glue off of these parts. It looks like someone had tried to glue them together, and they didn't do a very good job. As you can see, my drawers, they should have made them just a little bit wider, but it'll work out okay. This is not going to be a piece where I'm going to be opening it and shutting it anyway, so that's all good. So now I'm taking those out and letting them dry, and I was going to make that into a door, but then I got looking, and I know you can't see it. There are no holes in there where like a pin hinge would have went. That top piece I can't remove. It's stuck on really tight. So I'm like, what do I do? Because I honestly thought it had drawers and then a door. So I decided maybe I can just make a couple of shelves on that side using the piece I had originally cut out for the door. And I don't know why I flipped that over. No idea. But yeah, I don't really want it evenly spaced shelves. But it's kind of hard to tell when you get a big long piece of wood sticking out what you should really do. And I'm just kind of moving it around just to see where I think I might like to place those shelves. I want to make sure they're both big enough that I can put little things on them. So it fits in nicely. I mean, this is the one time I cut something for a door and it was just perfect. But not being able to get, a pin into those because I haven't been drilled out. There was no door. And there's no sign of, regular door type hinges on it. So I guess there wasn't a door on that side. I'm not even sure what this piece of furniture is supposed to be because in a way it looks like a dry sink. But in other ways, yeah, I don't know what this piece was originally supposed to be. So I'm just going to, in a minute here, take a pencil and I'm just going to mark where I need to make the cuts so that the shelf fits in nicely. Okay, so I've got it all cut. It's looking good. And now I'm just going to sand on the edges a little bit just to make sure they're all nice and smoothed out and even. And then we'll try fitting in there. And just kind of see how that's going to look now that it's actually cut to the right size. And then I wanted to put a drawer in there just to see what it's going to look like next to a drawer. Is it going to look okay? Where do I want to place it? And looking at it, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, although I do move it up just a little bit, keeping in mind that I do want enough room to put things on each of the shelves. So now I'm like, how am I going to position it evenly? And so I just went to get my Lego bricks. They're not the real Legos, they're the Dollar Tree ones, and so I decided those would be the best way to hold the shelf up. So I will be back in a minute with the Lego bricks. There they are. So I'm just fitting my shelf back in now and getting the right number of the blocks. And I was going to go underneath, but I decided to go up on top instead and just bring my piece up to meet the bottom of my blocks. And that looks like it's going to work pretty good, so I'll put those others back and get that out of the way, and then I'm going to take the blocks back out and my shelf piece. And I'm just going to put some more glue down here and grab my toothpick, getting the glue off my hands. And I'm going to glue the 3 sides of the shelf so that we can put it in. And again, this is just a little wider one way than it, it's The cabinet itself, although it doesn't really look like it, is not exactly completely square. So the shelf does fit in one way better than it does the other. So now I've got my glue on, and I'm putting the blocks back in first because that's gonna make it easier. I'll know right where to put the shelf in with the glue on it. And then I'm just gonna push it up, take off any excess glue. And I'm just kind of using the clean end of the toothpick to go in and just remove any excess glue that's seeping out. Just making sure that it's still in position and nice and straight. And that'll be where it's going to be and how it's going to look. So I'm going to let that dry now. Okay, while that's drying, I was trying to figure out how I'm going to fix the back, and I decided probably the easiest and best way would be to take a piece of this craft cardstock, it's the heavyweight, and then just cut out a piece and fit it over my joint in the back. So I'm just going to cut that out. I've already pre-measured it. I'm just getting it all lined up there so I can make my cut. And now I have my piece, and I'm getting the top of the back of it. I'm also getting my head in the camera in the way. So I'm just now, I didn't want it to go quite to the edges. I wanted it to be just a bit inside so that it would not be seen when you're looking at the cabinet, either from the front or the sides. And then I'll be putting glue along that piece, and I will be putting the cardstock in there to hold the two pieces together. Okay, so I'm checking the shelf. The shelf is nice and dry. I'm trying to get those Legos out of there. And there's one, and there's the other, and there's my shelf all glued in now, so we're ready to rock and roll on that one. I'm just going to put these away so that they don't get lost or anything, and I'm going to be taking the top, putting some wax paper down because I don't want to get the glue all over my cutting mat. And obviously I did not get enough glue to start with, but I'll figure that out here in a minute. I've got to get my mess beside where I work cleaned up. I'm still kind of working on the craft room. There's a few things that I still need to find a place for, and I need to get a piece of pegboard up so that I can hang some things up. Now I'm just putting glue on the bottom part of that cabinet so that I can join the two pieces together. And I'm getting really excited because this is really coming together better than I thought it would. I'm putting glue now on the piece of cardstock, and this is where I figure out, hey, you don't have enough glue. But I hate to waste. Or any of the rest of you like that? Like, I'm scared to put out too big of a blob of glue because I usually end up with way too much, and then there's a lot of waste. And I'm so used to tacky glue, I grab the tacky glue instead of the wood glue, which is right beside me. And I do use tacky glue for most of my projects. I just really like it. So now I'm just going to put some glue directly on the piece of cardstock. And just gonna kind of smooth that out all over the piece, because I want this to glue on really good. It's got to hold those two pieces together. So I'm going to take the top part and I'm going to attempt to stick it to the base of the little cabinet. And it's a really nice fit. You can hardly see the line where it joins when I get it glued together. I'm just making sure everything's pretty much lined up before I go ahead and put this piece on. And so that's what I really like about the Gorilla Glue. You get pretty quick grab. And now just placing it on the back in between, or with the joint about in the middle of the cardstock. And just checking, make sure I got my sides all even. I don't want the top hanging over to either side. And just taking off a little bit of excess glue and wiping that out of there. And I'm really liking the way that it joined up and everything, and I'm just pressing down to make sure that cardstock on the back lays nice and flat. And so there you can see it's nice and flat. It's not quite to the edges, and I think it's going to do a pretty good job of holding everything together for me. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just using a white interior paint that I've had for quite a while. It's a little thick, but it will work for this. And so I'm just starting the process of painting, which I don't really enjoy. And with me, that's just the repetition of it all. I'm not one who likes to do the same thing over and over, and painting is, it's basically just lay the paint down, brush it out. So probably not one of my favorite jobs. I would rather create, but this is a necessary part of this. So I'm just trying to get this top coat on good, and I'm hoping that it will fill any little imperfections in the wood. As you will see later on, this is not going to be the best paint job, but it's just the first layer so that I can cover that dark wood, and I'm going to sand it down and then put on more coats when I'm done. Excuse me. It's been so hard to get rid of these colds. We had 70 degrees yesterday. It was beautiful out. Today it's cloudy. I see it's rained some. And the day before we had a lot of rain. So the weather it's just crazy. So I decided to speed this up because you all know how to paint, and you didn't really need to watch me paint this whole cupboard. What was really hard was painting the top of it, because like a dry sink would be, it has, trim on the front and all that, and it sticks up maybe not even 1/4 of an inch, so it was trying to get down into that and get all the little corners and get the sides of it in the front, and it's kind of a pain. So I think that was probably the hardest part of it to paint. There was a lot of moving around, a lot of checking. And then in the video I've noticed when I was editing that there's a lot of shadows, and they make it look like I missed a spot, but I haven't. And I'm painting inside where the drawers go, just in case you have the drawer open and, you know, maybe the side of the cabinet shows a little bit. And at first I wasn't going to paint the whole inside of them, and then I'm like, well, that's going to look stupid. So I just decided to go ahead and paint the inside where all the drawers will sit, and of course where the shelves are. So I hope you're all doing well out there and everything's going okay for you. As I said, I'm just going to have to excuse the editing on this video because whatever that update was Microsoft didn't put on. I did go ahead and update and then it worked better, and CapCut, which I use, just added AI, and I don't know if that has something to do with it or not, but hopefully it will be better and easier to record now and to get the videos edited for you. And I'm hoping, otherwise I'll have to find another video editor, and I don't really want to have to do that either. I did paint the underside. I only gave it the one coat though because it's not ever going to show. It's just going to sit in a room and have some cute little things in it and on it, and I don't know if I'll fill the drawers. It's always appealed to me to make a dollhouse that looks very, very accurate. I mean, like, really do a great job, and then fill all the little drawers with things and all the little cupboards, and I just thought that would be so neat. Just have it just like an actual real little house, you know, where people live there and they have things in their drawers and all that kind of stuff. It really appeals to me, but I just haven't quite gotten that far in my miniature journey yet. And I don't know if I will fill the drawers on this or not. Also noticed with painting this that there's like I'll be brushing the paint on, and going one direction will work better than going another direction. So I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's just me. And then I decided to go ahead. I wasn't going to paint the back, but I decided that I would go ahead and put a couple coats of paint on the back also, just so it's all the same color. This paint dried pretty quick. I was kind of amazed at that. I didn't have a long wait time, so there it is, all painted with the first coat. Not the best coat, but yeah, I'm filling up my paint. Okay, so this is how it ended up, and this is the shelves that you'll see. This is when I was just going to paint around the front edges, or not the shelves, around the front edges of where my drawers were going to sit. But later on, when I do the next coats, I do go back and paint the whole thing. And now I'm just lightly sanding all this off. And it was kind of a pain to sand too because of all the little parts, like the edges of the shelf, and like I said, down in that top is really hard. But I just wanted to give it a good quick sand so that my paint would be smooth when I put the next coat on. I think I had a little paint run right there, so I'm just trying to sand that down so it's nice and flat. And I apologize. This got to be kind of a long video. When I started editing, it was over an hour. And that was just because I was recording everything I was doing. And this is Dollar Tree sandpaper, so it doesn't really last a long time. But, okay, so now I am ready for the next step. And I decided to use the Google Eyes for making my drawer pulls, which I've done in the past. This time, though, I was struggling with them. Always get more than you need because, yeah, that piece just flew off and I have no idea where it went. I do find it. It was right there. It just went right over by my little pin vise, or my little drill thing. And so cutting them can be tricky depending on the size you're using. I don't think these are the smallest, but they're not real big. And as you can see, another piece came off of there. And then also, because they're plastic, and there must have been some static in the air because they wanted to stick to my fingers. So always get more than what you're going to need because you never know when that piece is going to fly off and you just can't find it again. Sorry, my phone is alerting me to Facebook. So I decided to put down a piece of masking tape on my mat and stick the pieces that I've already cut on there. And my phone is just busy today. So yeah, I show you one of them after I've cut it. I know you can't see it really good, and the camera didn't want to focus on it. But basically, I try to cut them a little less than half for the pieces that I use. And it's very hard to cut them. You need to be very careful you don't cut your fingers, but you've got to have some way to hold them down while you're cutting them. And then that little black part that's the pupil in the eye will come out. And I was just struggling with these. Usually it goes pretty good. This time it was kind of a struggle to get them, so. Then they didn't want to stick to the masking tape either, so. And that one got shoved underneath. So I had to pull it out. And then I realized my cut was a little off. You could see the back of the eye where the front had cut to the size I wanted, but the back, I did not get it cut all the way. So now I'm just trying to straighten that out. They really do make really nice little cabinet pulls. It's just sometimes cutting them can be a little bit of a pain. Okay, so I finally got done struggling with them, and I'm trying to zoom in, but it's very hard to see. I do have, there we go, I got out of the light. I do have the 3 of them there, and I'm just using some Testors gold paint. I really like their gold. So I'm just going to be using that on them. And so I'm just dipping an old brush in there because this has to be thinned with paint thinner or mineral spirits. And I'm just kind of putting the paint on there. Making sure I get all around my edges and get across the front there. Like I said, I apologize. I know this is very hard to see, but they're very small and the camera didn't want to zoom in on them. Very good. Oh no, it sounds like there's a small plane flying over. Just making sure I get all the edges and everything painted. Putting my lid on because last time, if you remember, I used that paint. I made one heck of a mess. So my dresser, or I keep calling it a dresser and I don't know why, in my head anyway. And so my little cupboard here, I'm just putting some glue on and I'm just eyeballing what looks like the center of the drawers. I can, you know, position my little drawer pulls after I get them on. Man, I got a little too much glue. So now comes the thing of trying to get them off of the masking tape and get them picked up. And normally I can take the hobby knife and I can stick it, because the little eyes are hollow in the middle, I can stick it inside of the little eye, and like I just did, and I realized that I need to make another cut again because that one looked a little uneven. You could see part of the back. So I'm just straightening that up a little bit before I put it on. And this is a fiddly little process. If you don't cut it right the first time, and my X-Acto knife is getting pretty dull, I need to buy some new blades for that too. So hopefully Saturday I will be able to go and get some things. So now I've got my bigger cutter out and I got it, and I'm going to try to pick it up again with the X-Acto knife because it works really slick if you can just push that blade in between the two surfaces and that, but I give up on that and just decide I'm going to pick it up in my fingers and place it. Now I'm just trying to make sure that I have it. Looks pretty centered, pretty even, just like I want it. And I'm just going to take the toothpick and I'm going to wipe off the excess glue because I had a little bit too much there. And I just, for some reason, can't quite get it on the end of that knife, so I don't know why I keep trying. And again, I realized that I had not cut off enough of that back part, so just gonna do that real quick here. Because it really does show once the paint is on. So I'm just placing that one and trying to line it up with the one below it. And for some reason they look really big. They're not very big at all, but I don't know if it's the shiny gold against the white or what the deal is, but they look really big. So I'm just clearing some excess glue on there and just moving that one a little bit. I took the glue off, I got it just a little bit out of place, so I'm just straightening that up. And then it's just time to put the last one on now. And then I'm going to put it in the farmhouse so you can kind of see what I was thinking of or where to put it. Not sure it'll stay there, and I apologize because I could not get a good angle on the film or the video when I was taking it, so that's how it looks. I think the shadows are making it look big, I'm not sure. Anyway, you're going to get a real brief clip of it in the farmhouse and a picture of it by itself. And that's where we're going to end this video. I hope you all have a great day. I want to thank you very much for joining me, and I apologize for the bad video editing. Have a good one. Bye-bye.